Last weekend, I would say for most people watching at home, whether they race, they could probably see it in your body language. You maybe weren't as comfortable as you were earlier in the season or at some of the earlier rounds. Was that down to just the conditions with it being wet? Like, did you not feel good? I know there's people that's been kind of sick. Like,
Yeah.
I guess at the end of the day, what was it?
I wish I could say what it was. Thinking back now, I did start out the night pretty timid in the heat race. Actually, very timid. Just not trusting the ground at all for what it was, and it had more traction than obviously what I was giving. But I just didn't ride well, and I thought I was like good in every condition, or I have been good in every condition leading up to Tampa. But for some reason I struggled with that track, or maybe it was dirt. I don't know what it was. I just rode subpar. I don't know. So I was questioning myself just as much as everyone was questioning me.
So I noticed, like, think of that in the heat race first lap, you come off the main triple, even that right-hander right there, like around the guys around, you could definitely tell you were tiptoeing through that.
Yeah.
Throughout the night, I mean, normally you'd want to get up to speed. Is it just once that happened, was it just kind of mentally hard to trust the bike more and more in the conditions? Did you just, every lap, just couldn't really find it within yourself?
I basically just stayed in a comfort zone, and that was it. And it was kind of that same speed I had during the heat race and wherever I was in the main, so I was kind of just stuck, and I wasn't willing to take any risk to go harder at that point, So that's where I was at.
Okay. This week, I believe you guys were still in California. I heard you guys had a test. I know you've been, when we've talked to you, fairly happy with the bike so far over the opening rounds. What'd you work on this week?
Yeah, we tested some stuff and just trying to improve on where we think we lack.
It's one of those things, even across these opening rounds, we've kind of talked about is the conditions have been very different than we expected. We had early West rounds that were softer than normal. We finally got some slick rounds. Was it just, it seemed again that you were really genuinely happy after the first couple opening rounds. Was it just in the last round or two you found like, I need to work on something a little bit here or a little bit there? Or?
I've basically been happy every round besides last week in Tampa, and that had the hardest base with kind of this funky, slick top.
Yep.
For sure, the most slick, hard base track we've had. But I don't want to put all the blame on the bike and the track, but I obviously wasn't up to my comfort zone to push harder.
Okay. As you've gone older and done this longer, more experience, if you have nights like you did in Tampa, do you come out of them now more frustrated knowing what you're capable of, or do you have enough experience now? Are you pretty good at just taking a step back and going, it is what it is. We got other races to go. We got more battles to win.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I feel like my fifth was actually an okay result considering how I felt on the bike. I felt like that should have earned me like an eighth or something. So those nights are just weird. I don't know. But the one thing I thought of though was like, hey, look at what Cooper did at Houston. He was like, same thing.
Yep.
Got passed by AP in the heat race and got fifth in the main, I think. So I don't know. We definitely have. All three of us, I feel like, have our strengths in our conditions and our tracks. And, I feel like it may be who can be the best at making themselves better in their lacking condition.
Last weekend on TVcast, we had James Stewart and Ricky Carmichael on there, and your winning score came up. I know we've talked about multiple times this season. The actual record book, I know, doesn't really mean it doesn't mean anything to you. I just know it's not as important as maybe it would be to some people. However, I thought a really cool thing is they brought up you surpassing them both, and Ricky and James straight up were like, it's not a matter of if, it's when. They basically both threw it straight to you. Does that mean more hearing that from those two guys than the number maybe does, like hearing
It's cool to hear, yeah. And right now I'm not super focused on it, but it'll be cooler whenever I'm done, to look at that stuff.
How's it being part of the Sexton ship?
I like it. Lewis has been awesome. He's stuck with me even though we've had a few rougher rounds, but No, it's good. He's super funny. I love listening to his interviews. So it's I've been seeing it on Twitter a lot.
What'd you do this week? I know when we've talked to other rounds, you've kind of mentioned one of the things you've been wanting to focus on is maybe riding some rougher tracks. Did we get a little bit of that done this week?
Yeah, track. So I ride at Jack Chambers track, and I've been in California, so it's been tough to ride super rough tracks because they just get really baked. So Jack's track is the opposite. It gets really soft and rutted like super fast. So it's been good. It definitely was a struggle the first week, but this week I felt a lot better. So yeah, I feel good, and this one's going to get pretty beat up, I think, and going to be pretty technical from the looks of it. The 2 loop sections, big long dragon's back, and looks like some long rhythm sections, so it should be fun. But overall, just like I said, been trying to work on my weaknesses, riding on tracks that are a little bit rougher, and we'll see if that plays out good this weekend.
Any other further testing, or pretty much left alone from last week or two?
We had a fork last week that we tried that I ended up not really liking on race day, but we made a few adjustments to it, so I'm going to try that again. Just some minor stuff, just to not get stagnant and try and just keep stepping the bar up a little bit. So, other than that, bike's basically the same, and I've been pretty happy with it.
Not to say that Anderson is totally out of this, but at the rate we're going, it's really coming down to the 3-horse battle between yourself, Eli, and of course Cooper. When you think of the two of them as competitors, starting with Eli, what's his strength that you kind of identify that stands out to you?
I mean, he's just gnarly in general. I mean, he doesn't get tired. He's pretty dang consistent nowadays. So, he's just a really good competitor in general. I mean, it's really hard to pick one thing he's really good at. He's good at a lot of things, and that makes him the guy he is today. So, I mean, the guys I'm going up against aren't easy, but that's what makes racing fun, and the competition is what I come out here to race for. And, it's exciting. It's really actually fun to race those two and be in the same, not conversation, but in the same race and kind of duking back and forth. Last week it was Cooper, and I was matching him. Like, he'd catch me, then I'd pull away, he'd catch me. So it's kind of cool to have that little chess battle. Obviously, he got the better end of the stick, but it's fun. It's awesome racing those two.
Do you ever take a step back and just kind of realize, I mean, literally, you're at the absolute pinnacle of the sport right now. You're battling two insanely gnarly dudes, and it looks like you guys can truly respect each other, battle each other clean, kind of what you said. It looks like if somebody could be in your shoes, it looks like a hell of a time, basically.
Yeah, super fun. Definitely grateful to be in the position I am. I mean, for me growing up, I was never the star growing up. Like, I got overshadowed in amateurs, and then even the 250 class, I felt like I was not overshadowed, but I was kind of the underdog. And I mean, I'm still the underdog to this day, but I'm definitely at where I want to be on the trajectory that I'm on right now. So it's fun. I'm having a blast, and it's what keeps me going every week, is just trying to get better, and these guys keep me motivated, so it's fun.
And then kind of the follow-up to my earlier one I mentioned Eli, same thing about strengths with Webb. We all talk about it from the outside looking in about his mental strength, his racecraft. Do you kind of see the same thing when you race against him? Like, does it stand out as his strength? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I was talking to somebody. I was like, I don't know where he gets the speed in the main event, because last week he was not there all day, and then all of a sudden the main event comes around, he's there. So it's something that you kind of have to tip your hat towards, is he makes it count makes it happen when it counts. So it's tough as a competitor to race that, because you don't really know what you're going to get, but he's mentally strong, great rider. Actually, when I was on Yamahas growing up, so I kind of get to be around him a little bit, and even as an amateur, he was always that way. Mm-hmm. So it's fun, and like I said, it's exciting.
I always hear you're basically ripping during the week. I hear, they always say you hear the rumors, you hear the test track, the guys are flying. Has been tough at all? I mean, knowing what you can do during the week, your A1 was such a highlight. Not that the rounds have been bad. At 450 class is tough, but has been irritating to know what you can do and just be a little bit off that each weekend after what you saw you could kind of do at A1 with a good start?
Yeah, I mean, in a way. Honestly, up until the past, definitely this past week, but the week prior, I think we had a pretty good week too. That's the first time I rode twice in a week, was last week, and then this weekend we did two. And those are the first times I actually felt like I had some speed again. After A1, I tore my groin like that Tuesday after A1. We just didn't ride during the week, and it was kind of a struggle on the weekends, just trying to get through it type thing. And I just hadn't felt like myself in a long time. So it was just been kind of a struggle. Trying to get through and find some speed again and some comfort, and it's hard to do that when I'm kind of on one leg essentially a lot of the time. So it's just been kind of one of those things where we've been kind of fighting an uphill battle a little bit. But this past week I actually felt like myself on the bike. We got a lot more comfort with the bike this week, so I was actually pumped about that. Something we haven't had, I feel like, in a few weeks. So we're getting there, baby steps, man. It's you got to have that during the week to even bring it on the weekends. And like I said, this is the first time I felt like I've even had that during the week. So we'll get there. Hopefully we can apply that this weekend and actually get a good result.
Nice. What have been some of the major changes you made? I've noticed you're off BFRC. Are you on the same frame setup that Chase is on, or?
Yeah, we're on pretty similar setup, but we went back to a standard shock. Just a bunch of shock testing essentially to try to figure out if I can get some more comfort there and get a little more of a settling feel in the rear, and then that's kind of trying to get the forks to compensate with that. And now I feel like we're on a direction that's a lot different than I really anticipated, but it seemed to translate during the week. So, I guess we'll find out tomorrow. But overall, I feel like we're going a good direction. More a direction that this bike likes, not necessarily what I think would be best, but what this bike I think prefers. So we're making progress. It's just been slow and steady, and like I said, you can't really do a whole lot during the week when you don't ride. So we were kind of showing up, just kind of winging it at San Diego A2. We were just like, well, hopefully this works on Saturday, and that didn't really work. It was tough for me to do that, to show up and just kind of ride something. So baby steps, though, one step at a time, and we'll be better this weekend.
So we're in Oakland this weekend. I believe we go Arlington, Daytona, Indy, Detroit. You got any rounds upcoming that you're really looking forward to? Stadium you like, dirt you like, anything like that?
Actually, those 3 in a row are some of my favorites. So I really like Arlington. It's the closest one to home for me back in Oklahoma. I like Daytona and Indy. I had a lot of success there in 21. I really like that place a lot. So those 3 are some that I'm definitely looking forward to. Some later on in the season, but I really, really like those 3 coming up. So hopefully we can get into a good groove and get to stack some good results here.
Justin Cooper, so originally I heard that you weren't actually supposed to be scheduled to race this round when I inquired earlier in the week. Was it kind of more of a last-minute decision that you're doing this round, or?
A little bit. Just figured we'd keep the momentum rolling, and plan is to do like the 5 in a row, so all the way through Daytona, and we'll take it from there.
So I know there's still kind of some question marks related to the partial schedule. I've seen people that really still don't understand more whose decision it was. Can you talk us through a little bit about how the opportunity came about, why you guys decided to come in a couple rounds into the season?
Yeah, it's tough. For me, it's about gaining experience, and I think that's the main goal for me this year. We have our eyes on the 250 MX title right now, and definitely want to get the right amount of prep for that, so don't want to go too deep into this series, and this is kind of just for getting my feet wet, and so I can come into next year without like, hey, this is like a brand new thing for me. Like I can kind of get some rounds under my belt, and yeah, it's been great so far. Started off with 2 7s, and really can't complain with that. These guys are really fast, and just trying to knock off consistent rides and consistent laps.
Both those 7s have to feel good, because watching you in the races, it's not necessarily from good starts. You've gotten decent starts, but you've had to work your way by some really top talented dudes. You're not getting there just off the merit of hanging on after a good start. So again, some of the guys you're passing, you're a pro racer, you've been racing 250 class, but you see guys like a Ken Roxon, for instance. It's got to feel good to be on a 450 and be able to legitimately get right by the guy, basically.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. 20 minutes, you can't really fake that. I mean, you can get a good start, but it's a long main event, and these guys are all good. So you're definitely not going to be able to rip a start and hang on for 20 minutes. It's you got to be able to click off consistent laps and find your flow. So that's what I've been doing, and haven't really been doing anything over my head. Just want to stay within my limit for now, and just learn everything. And the best way to do that is just knocking off consistent laps and seeing how the race develops.
So with the 2 7s to open your 450 career, it sounds like you're meeting even maybe your own expectations a bit. But by the time we get to whether it's Daytona or whatever round is your last 450 this year, do you have a personal goal of where you'd like to be that you would basically step off from the 450 being pretty happy with the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, haven't really looked too far ahead of that. Just been doing exactly what I've been doing, is just learning a lot, and I think from here we try to stay where we're at, and if we're feeling good and the opportunity is there, yeah, I'd like to move up a little bit further, and asking for a podium right now, I think, is a little bit too much, but that would be a goal for sure.